G'day, in today's Origin Showcase video, we're going through the top 10 best Origins from August 2021, focused around the ones that I or Saturn have created videos on. There'll be links to more detailed explanations of each Origin in the description down below. Basically, we're going to have a brief explanation of each Origin, enough so you have the idea of what the Origin is meant to be about, as well as some of the key abilities to the Origin, but that'll leave the rest to you to find out via the actual big detailed videos that will be left down below. Either way, before we get into it, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe button, as there's over 100,000 of you guys casually watching these videos, and highly appreciate it if any of you guys would hit the subscribe button down below. Moving into the first Origin, we've got the atomizer Origin. The idea behind this Origin is to give you the ability to shrink down to a smaller form of yourself and grow back up to the normal size. This Origin is a 2-impact Origin, meaning it has around a medium impact upon the game itself, changing up a bit but not too much. The core theming / idea to do with this Origin is to give you the ability to shrink down to the smallest size you possibly can with using the 𝓵𝓲𝓷𝓴𝓼 mod. Of course, this is going down to the size of an atom, being roughly 2 pixels tall when it comes down to it. And when you shrink down to your smaller size, you get a brief moment of resistance. The core perks around this Origin is to give you the ability to fly with an elytra when you're in your smaller form, the ability to climb up the side of mountains and walls and blocks when you're in your smaller atomized form. You also have the ability to avoid fall damage and mine things with your bare hands, but again, that final ability is only saved for the atomized form. The core disadvantages with this Origin is A, when you're in your smaller mode, you're extremely slow in comparison to the average Minecraft player. B, you have overall less health than the normal Minecraft player, and C, you have no ability to use any form of ranged weapons whatsoever. This is a huge disadvantage when it comes down to it, as well as that, and combined with the speed, makes the small mode being something that you pretty much don't want to really interact with too much. Basically, the core issue with this is just it's slightly too slow, and then of course the no ability to use any form of ranged weapons, including Riptide Tridents, are unavailable for use as well. Moving into the next Origin, we've got the Molten Spirit. The Molten Spirit is forged with the spirit of lava, enraged with the burning wrath. Your powers of the fiery spirit are born of the fire element. This Origin is a 3-impact Origin, meaning it has the most impact in changing how your game will play when you play around with this Origin. Moving into your core 2 abilities, you have the Spire Spirit, which allows you to unleash your spirit to gain strength, speed, and regeneration for 20 seconds that has a cooldown of a minute, as well as an ability to use a toggleable phantomization ability with a fire glow around you to show if you're phantomized or not. Moving into some of the buffs that come with this Origin, you're completely fire and lava resistant. You have the ability to actually swim in lava itself, as well as the ability to see within that lava far better than normal players would be able to. Whilst you are on fire, it actually improves your saturation, but the con of this comes with the fact that you're unable to eat anything normally, as well as the fact that you can't light up fire in cold places, meaning you have slowness and weakness in those places. You also explode when you die, meaning that you could potentially lose your own items, as well as the fact that you spawn inside of the Nether dimension. Plus your hunger burns quicker. Overall, this is one of the better Origins that force you to start in the Nether, as it gives you a few different tools in order to avoid dying easily in the Nether. For example, the ability to swim in lava, as well as the ability to phase through blocks, so you don't have to worry about getting stuck in a small air pocket where you get screwed over. Moving into the next Origin, you've got the 𝓵𝓲𝓷𝓴𝓼 Origin. In layman terms, you basically get access to this overpowered mech that allows you to do so much more in the game of Minecraft, giving you the ability to use laser beams against other enemies that have a short range that actually can't be used on Ender Dragon, so be very aware of that one. As well as you've got a massive flight booster, which is a very drastic boost. I think it's roughly around 2 times as effective as the normal maximum firework rocket. That also has a long cooldown, but again, because of how drastic of a boost it is, it's short enough of a cooldown you do get to use the ability again whilst you're still in the air. Anyhow, moving into the perks of this Origin, you are bulletproof, meaning that no arrows will actually hit you because you're entirely immune to them. You also have massive natural protection equivalent to diamond armor. This also gives you knockback resistance to everything aside from TNT, and you only take 25% damage from TNT. This also includes things like creepers, since they're technically a form of TNT. Moving on to the disadvantages you gain with this Origin, you have a mech suit. Now this of course is the reason why you have a high natural armor, but at the same time this makes it so you're unable to use any other form of iron armor whatsoever. You're also unable to use any form of projectiles except for tridents. So if tridents have loyalty on them or anything along those lines, you can use tridents perfectly fine as a form of projectile, no questions asked. You also are unable to use shields as well. You move slower due to the fact that you're a heavy machine. Moving on, you've also got an oxygen tank. This allows you to breathe underwater for a lot longer time period, but the moment you run out of air, you'll take 3 times drowning damage, meaning that you'll die in a simple 3 ticks. A similar thing goes with lava as well. You have a temperature meter that allows you to actually sit in lava for 20 seconds, but the moment it ends, you'll take 3 times fire damage, which will kill you within 3 ticks as well. The armor also has a health bar, which means over time it will drain its energy, and if it goes all the way to nothing, it will explode and you will start to slow down as you get over to the last bit. And as well as to recharge the suit, you either need to have a redstone block within 10 blocks, which you can stand on to recharge, or a beacon within 30 blocks. Overall, I think this origin could be really good when it comes down to having a bunch of challenges to do with origins, as this origin does give you some really good abilities, but at the same time gives you drastic drawbacks for them. So it's really dependent on you on whether you like them or not. Moving into the next origin, we have the ancient golem created by 𝓵𝓷𝓴𝓼. These human-like robots are possessed by the ancient civilization souls, only a few have survived the harsh treatment of time. The idea is that you're an ancient golem that has been around for thousands of years, with most of your things slowly damaging over time, with a lot of other problematic issues that come with your origin. Running through your abilities, you have the machine gun, which is your primary ability, which allows you to rapidly shoot arrows, but at the cost of a bit of heat to your armor. And your secondary ability is a supercharge, where you get supercharged for 12 seconds with speed 2, jump boost 2, and you cannot die at all. Instead, any hits that are supposed to kill you will instead generate a lot of heat upon your armor. Moving into the perks of this origin, you've got an ancient radar, which just gives you the ability to click on a compass to see all entities within a 40 block radius around you, as well as the fact that you're more fall damage resistance, allowing you to fall up to 6 blocks before you start taking fall damage instead of 4. But the disadvantages around this goes around that armor key. Basically, you've got a molten core. As it heats up, you'll start taking some instant nerfs. Over time, as you heat up more and more, you'll start to have more and more of a nerf towards you, to the point where you reach peak heat and explode. Basically, the best ways to cool yourself down is to stay out of the sun as much as you possibly can, as well as being cold at biomes in order to cool yourself down, as well as being in water itself, also drinking water bottles, let's say while you're in the nether. You also have heavy armor, meaning that you sink a lot quicker and you also drown a lot faster, and then due to your armor, you are unable to use a shield whatsoever. Overall, I feel like this is a well-balanced origin, aside from a little bit of thing, like maybe potentially this should have a natural protection bonus by default, but that's aside the point. That's literally the only problem I have with this origin. Otherwise, I feel like personally it's overall balanced and is a fun origin to play in survival. But moving on to the next origin, we have the parasite origin. Now this one's a bit more complicated and has a little bit more information than the past few thus far, as well as the ability of 2 types of evolving. First off, you have the ability to evolve by collecting a simple item from one of the many mobs that you will kill. Basically, you kill a ton of things, you have a 0.3% chance to get a ghast here that is named Drop of Evolution. And then you pretty much need to do the challenge to get each variation of the type of parasite, slash a tank, attacker, or an infector. A tanker takes a lot of damage, the attacker does a lot of extra damage, and infectionist does a lot of infecting. You kind of get the point of that one, but you can evolve again by killing the ender dragon. You turn into a wall if you're a tanky boy. You're very slow, but you have a lot of health. The hunter turns into a warrior, very fast and very strong, and the infection turns to a hive, very small boy, but you can become extremely thick and steal the life of others. The idea behind this is you're infected by a parasite, meaning that you have a bunch of cooler abilities, and now you have to infect other mobs slash people with your parasites. One of the disadvantages that come with this is that you're unable to see, but you do have an ability that pulses some extra vision in order to see for a brief amount of time, as well as the fact that you have the ability to put up a fire shield that makes it so that you're fire resistant for 5 minutes. As you kill mobs, you gain more parasites in your parasite bar, and as it gets closer and closer to full, you gain a collection of new buffs and buffs that go along with it, and then using your power ravage, you'll get some really good buffs that continue to stack the longer time frame that you sit at maximum parasite ability. This origin also has a phantomize ability that allows you to phase through blocks, consuming your parasites whilst doing so. But the cons that go with this, not only do you take a lot of extra damage to fire, I think it's like twice or 3 times damage. You also consume a lot more food, and you can only eat meat as well as iron golems will kill you on sight. Overall, this origin is a really interesting challenge to take into a normal Minecraft playthrough if you want to have a massive change in how you would play the game. Moving into the next origin, we have the 𝓵𝓲𝓷𝓴𝓼 origin created by Mr. Plague. The 𝓵𝓲𝓷𝓴𝓼 origin is a portal dimension origin that gives you a small personal pocket dimension where you can use to store blocks, entities, and items. It also doubles as a form of portable base. This is of course binded to your main ability. Of course, at the same time, if you hit a mob as you're teleporting into your portal, it will actually bring that mob into your pocket dimension with you. This is really good for the early game, considering that it gives you a massive bonus storage section that you can carry on you on the go permanently. Your secondary ability is a vacuum that allows you to vacuum nearby items towards your inventory, which can be useful but also not at the same time depending. But to go along with this, you got a collection of perks and disadvantages. You are also non-combatic. You cannot use shields, you take increased damage from other entities, and you also get stunned when you're hit. You're also a gremlin. You're small enough to fit into 1 block spaces when sneaking, however you're also limited to 7 total hearts. You cannot use ender chests or shulker boxes whatsoever due to your pocket dimension, and you exhaust slowly and relocate into a 100 block radius around your current spawn point when you respawn. Overall, this is an interesting origin that will change up the style of how you would play your normal Minecraft game, as it gives you access to a whole new type of storage that isn't normally available to the Minecraft player, but you do lose out on ender chests and shulker boxes due to this pocket dimension. But moving on, we've got the 𝓵𝓲𝓷𝓴𝓼 origin. Now of course both me and 𝓵𝓲𝓷𝓴𝓼 have made a video on this origin, but because of my little bit of a stuff up and forgetting about the evolved section of it, I will leave a link to 𝓵𝓼's video instead of my one. But basically, the 𝓵𝓲𝓷𝓴𝓼 is another dimension type origin that gives you access to a new dimension, but it's not just like a simple pocket one. In fact, it's an entire dimension to yourself, but this gets unlocked after you defeat the 𝓵𝓲, which evolves you into the new 𝓵𝓲𝓷𝓴𝓼, giving you the ability to dimensionally travel to a place known as the Void. Moving through the abilities, you have the ability to create a rift in another dimension, becoming immune to all damage and invisible to anyone in the world. However, you cannot interact with the world aside from a few little things. You've also got the relocation ability, which is your secondary ability. You can create a rift that will teleport you 20 blocks in front of you. Now this works in all directions, but it will teleport you whichever direction you're facing, regardless if you're actually facing directly at a block or not. This ability will put you inside of the ground if you're not careful when using it though. You've also got the wormhole ability, which if you're sneaking and press the key that activates this ability, you will teleport to the last entity you hit. If you're not sneaking, the entity will teleport to you, and this works through dimensions. Moving into the perks you gain with this origin, you have the ability to dodge certain attacks for a brief amount of time, and you also have some combat bonuses based upon the fact that you've added teleportations to your own fighting style, as you just pretty much teleport every time you hit a mob. But of course, as always, there are disadvantages that come with this. First off, you only have 8 hearts instead of the normal 10. You cannot use shields whatsoever. You also do burn through your hunger a lot faster than the average Minecraft player. Water will deal damage to you, and you're also unfamiliar with fire, making you panic. So meaning that you not only take damage from water, you also take damage from fire, and due to the instability, you need to use rough armor to keep yourself together, basically meaning you're unable to use armor below iron. You can use iron, diamond, or netherite, and that's it. Anything else you cannot use whatsoever. Aside from when you're using leather shoes for snow powder, as well as the gold armor for piglins, you really don't use much other armor aside from the iron, diamond, and netherite style, so I guess it really doesn't affect you too much. Overall, the 𝓵𝓲𝓷𝓴𝓼 is a pretty decent, pretty fun survival-based origin that is got a lot of progress to do through it. It is still a work in progress, so be wary of any potential bugs in it, but it's still a really cool origin aside from that. Moving on, we've got the Dimension Traveler. This origin is technically 2 origins in one, as it comes with 2 variations of the actual origin itself, but you've got the Scorch and the Glacier origin. The idea behind this is when you go to either, you have an ability that allows you to teleport to a dimension that kind of fits with the style of the origin. For example, you've got a Scorched world as a Scorched origin, and you've got an Iced Freezing Cold world as the Glacier origin. Of course, teleporting to these dimensions is the use of your primary ability, which is obvious at this point. But starting off as a Scorched origin, the uniqueness comes with your secondary ability where you can summon 2 husks at your current point and position. Of course, once you hit them, they will start to attack you. They spawn with some weak armor that you can potentially get with some looting and other things along those lines. You've also got scorched bodies, meaning that you can actually go into lava, fire, and magma, which will not hurt you whatsoever. And you also don't take any withered damage anymore. You move on, you've also got hydrophobia, meaning that your withered scorched body can't survive in water. Villagers are afraid of you and won't trade with you, and iron golems will attack you on point, and you also will freeze when you're in cold biomes, getting weakness 1 and slowness 2. And then being out of your home dimension for too long, you'll start to take damage after around 20 minutes. The Glacier's ability, on the other hand, allows you to freeze nearby entities for a brief moment of time, as well as the fact that you have permanent Frostwalker on your body, which you can disable by wearing some simple boots, as well as the fact that because you look a little bit like a snowman, villagers feel safe around you, so you get permanent hero of the village. You will melt when you're in hot biomes where you take slowness 2, and you also have a small damage over time effect. This also includes the Nether, so be very careful when in there. And being out of your home dimension too long starts to weaken your body as well. Both origins also have weak bodies, meaning they have 2 less hearts than the overall Minecraft player health, and you also all take damage to water. Overall, this is a really good companion type origin mob if you want to take you and a friend into the same world and have a similar type origin. These are also really good for when survival comes down to it, aside from a few little weirdness and wackiness that comes with the origins itself. But moving on to the origin which I considered to be the best one that we've seen released in August. Now all the ones before this are kind of just like in a loose order. You can swap and interchange them as much as you want, but this one's one of the ones that sits right at the top of the ones covered by me or Saturn over the past month, because this one is one of those types of origins that's got an extreme wealth of detail when it comes down to it, not only to the actual abilities and the origin itself and the complexity of it all, but also to the lore and the story behind it. The biggest thing to keep in mind here is that I do not have the time nor the ability to give you a proper explanation here in this video. I just recommend you go check out Saturn's video on the origin, which I will have linked down below. Basically, this origin can be broken down to 4 different segments. Basically, you've got purity, red, tranquility, and insanity. And I'm just gonna say it here, this is a very, very complicated origin to go through in such a short period of time. Just have it know that this is a very, very detailed and ultimately is a really fun origin once you get to know everything about it. There are 4 different segments to it, and it's why I personally see it as like the best origin that has been covered in August of 2021. So what do you think of this list? Do you have any other origins that you personally liked out of the ones that either me or Saturn or many of the other origin content creators on the platform have released in video formats, or do you have any of the ones from the actual data pack section in the Discord server itself that you've personally taken a liking to that was released in August? Either way, let me know all of that down in the comments down below. Give me your own personal list as well as a bunch of information of what you personally like in an origin, as this month was definitely dominated by the dimension type origins to say the least. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to like button down below, make sure to subscribe, and until next time guys, goodbye.